Welcome to the lands of science fiction stories. I wish you a pleasant listening experience.
The Galactic Consortium's battle cruiser Infinity's Edge drifted silently in the void, its sleek frame glimmering under the distant light of a binary star system. Commander Riva Thal's brow furrowed as she reviewed the diagnostics of the ship's primary weapon system. No matter how many times her team attempted to repair it, the weapon remained offline, stubborn, mysterious, and crucial to the upcoming mission. "Another failure, Commander," reported one of her technicians, his tentacles trembling nervously. Riva's jaw tightened, her crimson eyes narrowing. This weapon was supposed to be their advantage against the encroaching Zolarian swarm, a horde of insectoid warriors who had ravaged dozens of star systems. And now, without it, they were sitting ducks. "We need a specialist," she declared, her voice sharp. "Bring me the human." There was a murmur of hesitation among her crew. Humans, though respected for their engineering prowess, had a reputation for being unpredictable and reckless. But they had no choice. If the human engineer, Marcus Kellen, couldn't fix it, they were doomed. A few moments later, Marcus stepped onto the bridge, his scruffy appearance contrasting sharply with the sleek uniformity of the alien crew. His eyes, a deep shade of blue, scanned the room with an unbothered confidence that made Riva's scales bristle. "All right, show me the problem," he said, hands casually in his pockets. "And by the way, nice place. Love the ominous lighting." Riva clenched her teeth. "This is a battle cruiser, human, not a sightseeing tour. Our weapon system is down. Fix it." Marcus shrugged, walking over to the main console. His fingers moved rapidly over the alien controls, his eyes lighting up as he accessed the system. Looks like your quantum flux matrix is fried. I'll need a few hours, maybe a day." "You have 3 hours," Riva snapped. "And if you fail—" Marcus interrupted, flashing a grin. "Relax, Commander. You hired the best, remember?" Riva's eyes flashed with irritation, but she gestured for her crew to follow. "Fine. But remember, human, our survival depends on you." The hum of machinery filled the air as Marcus worked on the superweapon circuitry. As he tinkered, a shadow loomed over him. He looked up to see an alien woman, her emerald skin glistening under the dim lights. She was tall, with a lithe figure and sharp, predatory eyes. "And who might you be?" Marcus asked, a hint of amusement in his tone. "Lieutenant Syrah of the Vexery clan," she replied, her voice a purr. "I came to observe the famed human engineer in action. You know, the last one we had almost blew up our ship." Marcus laughed, brushing a hand through his short, dark hair. "Well, I promise not to blow anything up. Unless you ask nicely." Syrah's lips curled into a smirk, and she leaned in closer, her fingers tracing the edge of the console. "You know, human, we Vexery have ways of motivating our workers." Marcus's eyes twinkled mischievously. "Oh, is that so? Well, I work best under pressure." Syrah leaned back, crossing her arms as she watched him. There was a charged tension between them, an electric current that buzzed in the air. Despite the situation, Marcus felt a thrill. There was something intoxicating about working under the gaze of a woman who was as dangerous as she was alluring. Time ticked by, and with Syrah's watchful eyes upon him, Marcus finally connected the last circuit. The weapon system roared to life, the console lighting up with a bright, blue glow. "There?" he said, stepping back. "All done. You're ready to fire." Syrah's eyes widened in surprise. "That quickly?" He smirked. "Told you I was the best." But just as he was about to bask in his success, alarms blared across the ship. Marcus's expression shifted from confident to alarmed as red lights flashed. "What's happening?" Syrah demanded, her hand moving to her sidearm. Marcus frowned, typing furiously. "It's recalibrating the energy levels too fast. I didn't anticipate this." "Fix it, human." Syrah hissed, her eyes glowing dangerously. Marcus worked frantically, his hands flying over the controls, but it was too late. The weapon fired. A massive surge of energy erupted from the ship, splitting the void with a thunderous roar. The shockwave was so powerful that it shook the entire cruiser, sending crew members crashing into walls. Marcus stumbled, grabbing onto the console for support as he muttered, "Well, that's not good." The Infinity's edge shuddered violently as the shockwave rippled through space. Marcus gripped the console tightly, trying to stabilize himself, while the entire bridge erupted into chaos. Aliens of all shapes and sizes scrambled to their stations, their voices a cacophony of panic. Commander Riva stormed in, her crimson eyes blazing with fury. "What in the name of the stars did you do, human?" Marcus threw up his hands defensively. "Hey, I fixed your weapon like you asked. It's not my fault your power calibration was set to overload." Riva's nostrils flared, her scales vibrating as she glared at him. "Our power calibration was perfect. You..." Before she could finish, Lieutenant Sira intervened, stepping between them. "Commander, we have bigger problems." She pointed at the main view screen, where a fleet of Zolarian ships had appeared, their insectoid forms illuminated against the blackness of space. Riva's eyes narrowed. "Impossible. They weren't supposed to know our location." Marcus frowned as he analyzed the data streaming across the console. "It looks like the energy pulse from your superweapon wasn't just a shot, it sent out a signal. We basically announced our position to the entire sector." Riva's face paled as the realization sank in. "We've been compromised. All units, prepare for engagement." As the crew scrambled to action, Sira turned to Marcus, her expression a mix of frustration and something else, an emotion he couldn't quite read. "I hope you're as good at defending ships as you are at breaking them, human." Marcus flashed a cocky grin despite the tension. "Well, I'm not just a pretty face. Let's see what we can do." The Infinity's edge fired up its engines, the ship's thrusters flaring to life as it maneuvered into a defensive position. Zolarian ships surged forward, their sleek forms moving with a deadly grace as they opened fire. Blue plasma bolts lit up the void, slamming into the cruiser's shields. Marcus stood beside Sira at the tactical station, rapidly adjusting energy levels and rerouting power to the shields. His fingers flew over the alien interface, a look of intense focus etched on his face. Sira's eyes never left the battle unfolding on the view screen. "Shields are holding, but they won't last long. We need to fire back." Riva's voice boomed over the bridge's comm system. "All weapons focus fire on their flagship. Target their engines." As the ship's batteries unleashed a barrage of energy, Marcus noticed something odd. The power levels on the screen were fluctuating wildly. "Wait, Commander, the weapon is still unstable. If we keep this up..." A deafening explosion cut him off as the Infinity's edge rocked violently. Sparks flew from the control panels, and Marcus shielded his eyes as a console burst into flames nearby. The ship's lights flickered, plunging the bridge into darkness for a moment before emergency lighting kicked in. "Status report," Riva shouted, her voice rising above the alarms. Sira's fingers moved quickly over her controls. "Hull breach in sectors 9 through 11. Shields down to 40%. Marcus cursed under his breath, leaning over to access the system diagnostics. "We've got to stabilize the power flow, or this ship's going to tear itself apart. Sira, I need your help." She hesitated, her eyes flicking to Riva, who gave a reluctant nod. "Do it." Sira moved closer to Marcus, her body brushing against his as they worked side by side. Despite the chaos around them, Marcus couldn't help but feel the heat radiating from her skin. The proximity, the intensity of the moment, it all created a spark he couldn't ignore. "Focus, human," Sira muttered, catching his glance. Marcus grinned. "Hey, I'm always focused. But I work better with motivation." Sira's lips twitched, but she didn't respond. Together, they rerouted power from non-essential systems, bringing the weapons back online. The ship's cannons roared to life again, lighting up the void as they targeted the Zolarian ships. As the battle raged on, Marcus and Sira continued to coordinate, their movements in sync. The Infinity's edge fired volley after volley, and while some of the Zolarian ships fell to their assault, more kept closing in. It was clear they were outnumbered. "Riva, we need to retreat." Marcus yelled over the din of alarms. "We can't hold out much longer." The commander gripped her command console, her face a mask of determination. "Not yet. We have one more trick up our sleeve. Marcus glanced at her, curious. What are you planning? Riva's eyes locked onto his, a hint of desperation in her gaze. You fixed the superweapon. Now, we need you to disable the safety protocols and reroute all the ship's energy into one final shot. Marcus blinked, taken aback. That could destroy the entire ship. Riva's expression remained stoic. And if we don't, the Zolarians will finish the job for us. Marcus hesitated. The plan was reckless, borderline suicidal, but it was their only shot. He nodded, turning back to his console. All right, let's light this place up. He worked quickly, disabling the safeguards and rerouting power from every available system. As he did, he felt Syrah's hand on his arm. He looked up, meeting her gaze. There was something unspoken between them, a mixture of fear and unyielding resolve. If we survive this, she whispered, you and I have unfinished business. Marcus smirked, his fingers still dancing over the controls. Then I guess we'd better survive. The ship's main cannon hummed with energy, a high-pitched whine that grew louder as Marcus fed it more power. The view screen showed the Zolarian flagship approaching, its weapons charging. Everyone brace yourselves. Riva commanded. Marcus hit the final command. The superweapon fired, a blinding beam of energy surging from the ship's bow and slamming into the Zolarian flagship. The impact was immediate. Explosions ripped through the enemy vessel, and it disintegrated in a spectacular blaze of blue and gold flames. But as the Zolarian ship went down, the Infinity's edge trembled violently. Panels exploded, and Marcus was thrown backward, crashing into Syrah. The force of the impact sent them both sprawling to the floor. Sparks rained down as the ship's lights flickered, casting shadows across the bridge. Syrah landed on top of Marcus, her breath hot against his ear. For a moment, everything seemed to slow down. The chaos, the alarms, the shaking of the ship. It was just the two of them, pressed together in the middle of the storm. Well, Marcus murmured with a grin, if this is how we go out, I could think of worse ways. Syrah laughed softly, a sound that was both desperate and amused. Focus, human. We're not dead yet. Marcus tightened his grip on her. Then let's make sure we stay that way. As they scrambled to their feet, the ship stabilized. The Zolarian fleet, seeing their flagship obliterated, began to retreat. The Infinity's edge had survived, barely. Riva's voice, though exhausted, echoed over the comms. All units, stand down. We've won. Syrah and Marcus exchanged a look, a mixture of relief and something deeper, something that hinted at a connection forged in the heat of battle. Looks like we live to fight another day, Syrah said, a small smile on her lips. Marcus smirked, brushing dust off his uniform. And to finish what we started. The bridge of the Infinity's edge was eerily quiet in the aftermath of the battle. Sparks still flickered from broken panels, and the smell of burned circuits hung in the air. Crew members moved cautiously, assessing the damage, while Marcus and Syrah stood side by side at the tactical station, their eyes fixed on the view screen as the Zolarian fleet limped away. Commander Riva, Syrah said, her voice still carrying the tension of battle, the Zolarians are retreating. We've bought ourselves time, but we need to assess the damage. Riva nodded, her expression one of weary relief. Good work, all of you. Marcus, Syrah, excellent coordination. She paused, taking in the wreckage around her. But we're not out of this yet. Marcus exhaled, leaning against the console. We might have won this round, but that weapon almost tore the ship apart. If we push it again without proper repairs, it won't just be the Zolarians we need to worry about. Riva's eyes turned serious. Then we have one chance left. We need to jump to the nearest safe zone for repairs and reinforcements before they return. Marcus and Syrah exchanged glances. I'll make sure we're ready, Marcus said, and with a quick nod from Riva he left the bridge with Syrah at his side. In the engine room, Marcus worked quickly, his hands covered in grease as he reconnected power relays and bypassed damaged circuits. Syrah stood nearby, assisting with her advanced knowledge of Vexery technology. The two of them moved with a practiced rhythm, their earlier tension replaced by a focused determination. How's it looking, human? Syrah asked, her tone a mix of concern and curiosity. Marcus glanced up, wiping sweat from his brow. Not great. The hyperdrive's taken a beating. It'll hold, but we'll only get one jump out of it before it needs a full overhaul. Syrah's expression softened, a flicker of admiration in her eyes. You've been full of surprises today, Marcus. And not all of them unpleasant. He grinned, the tension between them palpable as their eyes met. Guess I've got a talent for surprises. For a brief moment, everything else faded. The battle, the damage, the impending threat. It was just the two of them, standing close, the hum of the ship systems the only sound around them. I've been through a lot of battles, Syrah murmured, her voice barely above a whisper. But none like this. Marcus's hand brushed hers, his touch lingering. Well, I'm not planning on going anywhere just yet. But before the moment could deepen, the comm system crackled to life. Marcus, Syrah, report to the bridge immediately, Riva's voice ordered, the urgency clear. Syrah pulled away, her professional demeanor returning. Looks like we'll have to finish this conversation later. Count on it, Marcus replied with a wink before following her back to the bridge. The final stand. Back on the bridge, the tension was thick. The view screen showed the Zolarian fleet regrouping at the edge of sensor range. It was clear they were preparing for a final assault. Commander, they're not giving up, one of the technicians reported, his voice shaky. They're regrouping for another attack. Riva's eyes hardened. We need to jump now. Marcus moved to the navigation console, quickly inputting coordinates for the nearest safe zone. Coordinates set, but we need every ounce of power we have left. Syrah nodded, taking her place beside him as she adjusted the power flow. The ship hummed as its systems struggled to comply. Riva's fingers drummed on the console as she watched the fleet gather. As Marcus made the final adjustments, a warning light blinked on the console. Wait, something's wrong. The weapon core is destabilizing. Riva's expression turned grim. If that core goes, the ship will be destroyed. Syrah's eyes widened. We can't jump with the core in this state. We need to vent the excess energy manually. Marcus met her gaze, the gravity of the situation sinking in. If we don't vent it, we explode. If we do, we'll be wide open to attack. Riva's eyes locked onto Marcus's. Can you stabilize it? He hesitated. I can try, but I'll need to go into the reactor chamber. It's a two-person job. Syrah stepped forward. I'm going with him. Riva's eyes shifted between them before she nodded. Go. We'll hold them off as long as we can. Into the reactor. The reactor chamber was a whirlwind of noise and energy. The core glowed with a volatile intensity, and the air crackled with raw power. Marcus and Syrah moved quickly, navigating the narrow walkway to the control panel. All right, this is going to get hot, Marcus warned, his eyes scanning the flickering lights and fluctuating energy levels. We need to vent the core's energy manually, or it's game over. Syrah nodded, her hands steady on the console. Let's do it. Together, they initiated the venting sequence, redirecting the excess power into the ship's shield systems. The energy discharge sent tremors through the hull, and Marcus gritted his teeth, feeling the heat intensify. We're almost there, just a little more. As the energy levels began to stabilize, a small explosion erupted from a nearby console. Sparks flew, and Syrah was thrown back. Marcus caught her just in time, pulling her into his arms as the room shuddered. You okay? He asked, his voice tense with concern. Syrah nodded, her breathing quick. Just a scratch. Let's finish this. Together, they pushed the final override, and the core's energy vented, stabilizing the reactor. The ship's systems roared back to life, and the hum of the engines filled the air. We did it, Marcus said, relief flooding his face as he helped Syrah back to her feet. She gave him a look that was both fierce and grateful. And now we jump. A narrow escape. Back on the bridge, the Infinity's Edge powered up its hyperdrive. The Zolarian fleet closed in, their weapons charged. Hyperdrive ready in 5, 4, 3. Marcus called out, his eyes locked on the console. Shields at 20%, they're firing. A crew member shouted as the Zolarian ships unleashed a barrage of plasma fire. The ship rocked violently, and the lights dimmed as the shields absorbed the brunt of the attack. "Marcus, now," Riva ordered. Marcus slammed the activation key, and the Infinity's Edge shot forward, space distorting around them as they made the jump. The stars streaked into lines, and for a moment, everything was silent. Then, the ship emerged from hyperspace, and the view screen revealed a lush green planet below, their safe haven. The crew let out a collective sigh of relief. "We made it," Riva said, her voice softer now. "Well done, everyone."